Do you know why so many people are criticizing Amazon Prime's Rings of Power? Because there's nothing in it for the fans to point to the screen and go, wow, look at that. That's from the books. That's it. It's simple. There's no Tolkien in it. Yeah, you have some great cinematography, but bad camera work, some good scenery. But then you have these elves that look like the pronoun police and the most unlikable, wretched cast reading wooden dialogue that's as cheap as dollar store toilet paper. It simply falls apart. And Prime is bleeding because you refuse to back down. Now they're claiming it's the biggest hit ever. But I say, you don't release the raw data, you get no celebratory donuts for your bald comic book supervillain.
Are you acquainted with the work of Lord Celebrimbor?
What a week it's been. You had Rings was released and it was exactly what we thought. But surprising, you had some of the mainstream media jumped on the bandwagon to call it a catastrophe, and others across the pond who were saying, who's this made for? What audience was Amazon Prime looking for? Welcome, everyone. I hope you're doing well and having a great weekend with your loved ones. It's just interesting. All of you were right. We were all right about this series for months. So I was working on editing the video for episodes 1 and 2, putting it all together. And I just kept getting this news come across the screen. I was like, let me pump the brakes for a second. When you have like this catastrophe or disaster, everybody starts rubbernecking. I was like, this is the perfect opportunity where people like Amazon will start working in the background. So I'm like, let's just look at what they're telegraphing. I'm just going to readjust our sight and look at the periphery and see what Prime is doing from the shadows. Or their enemies? Are they taking advantage of the opportunity? So we're going to do a quick roundup of the latest news in Ringgate.
And, building that world from nothing.
Building that world from nothing.
And you wonder why we don't like you.
Wow. Patrick, I don't know what to say. That's like the perfect summation of hubris. You built a world all out of nothing. I guess John Ronald Reuel Tolkien had nothing to do with it. And you wonder why people don't like Rings of Power. When you hear something like that, if it makes you sick, or if you're just tired of having your mythologies destroyed, your favorite comic heroes, series, shows, books massacred, all you got to do is push the subscribe button down below. Join the conversation while we have fun growing the fellowship and holding the line. Now, I want to read a few comments from some of the heroes, some of the slayers who are taking a stand. Rob Blank, canceled Prime and Netflix and Disney and my BBC license. It feels good. Back to books. Jeremy Plord, I canceled my Amazon yesterday. Smiley face. MiG 101, my eyes and ears were bleeding watching this billion-dollar travesty. The Alchemist, Amazon Prime, canceled, confirmed. The good news is HBO on the day of the release of Rings decided to give a 1-2 punch to Amazon Prime's gut. HBO puts whole first episode of House of the Dragon on YouTube to screw with Lord of the Rings. You gotta love that when a plan comes together, because what did they do? HBO was like, no, there's some blood in the water. Might as well take advantage of it. Bezos could have counteracted that. All he had to do was release the first 2 episodes instead of being on Prime. He could have done the same thing and put it on YouTube, but he didn't. No, that takes huevos. That takes a spine and that takes belief. That says put pride aside and put your product, that which you believe in, forward. But he didn't do that. And at the same time, we found out about the Nielsen ratings, that they're going to be releasing all their data. So it takes Nielsen about 3 to 4 weeks to share with everyone what the ratings were for a particular episode. So in about a month from now, we'll know exactly how the first 2 episodes did. But we already know because we're reading everyone's comments. See, Amazon is trying to stop that from happening. They had suppressed and asked Rotten Tomatoes to stop people from leaving negative reviews. They're saying no one can leave a comment for 72 hours, but you know how that goes. IMDb, which Amazon owns, has done the same thing. You can go there now, and what you'll see is a lot of reviews ranging from on a 1 to 10 scale from 6 to 10. Everything else is gone. You can't find it. So I can't wait till Nielsen releases their data. Now, there's a bit of good news, but it's wrapped up in bile. NBC did what I said was going to happen a few months ago, because remember, a lot of these media people, they go in the same circles, and no one has to call up from Amazon Prime and go, hey, will you do us a favor? It's just they work together in a way, this certain synergy. All they got to do is wink with one another. Hey, we're under attack. So NBC News decided to start laying this horrible foundation. A new Lord of the Rings prequel quietly confronts an uncomfortable legacy. How Amazon's The Rings of Power prequel grapples with the deeply ingrained ideas of racial difference and racial determinism in J.R.R. Tolkien's world. You see where it's going? What they're doing is they're going to start calling him a racist. And they actually do, straightforward. J.R.R. Tolkien's novels are often seen as a rebuke to fascism. But like other fascist rebukers of his day, Winston Churchill, for example, his Middle-earth fantasy world is not free from racist philosophy. The new Amazon Prime series, The Lord of the Rings of Power, which is based on Tolkien's work, makes a deliberate effort to quietly confront that uncomfortable legacy through its casting choices. So, we're talking about staying true to the canon. And they call that being prejudiced, being bigoted. But they're going deeper than that. They're going to say now, what? Amazon is actually doing you a favor. Go out there and congratulate them. They're bringing you the best of what Tolkien wrote, the best of the legendary, and they're removing all that bile for 2022. Could you imagine something that he poured in his entire life's work? A man who fought against evil itself being called a racist? Cutting any remaining links between orcs and real Black and Asian people is a great step. And I'm sure many Tolkien fans would argue that the grotesque, warty orcs we see in Rings of Power are pure fantasy. That's because they are. Tolkien didn't design them to represent a race that's in reality. He's like, this is an embodiment of corruption and evil that the good guys are going to fight. Now, NBC News is doing this on behalf of Amazon for two reasons. One of them is they want to stop the bleeding. See, Prime is bleeding all over everything. It's in the news. You got Entertainment Weekly attacking. You have magazines and newspapers from across the world attacking. And so they're saying whenever John and Jane Q. Public go online to look at, should I watch it, should I not? Because time is valuable. They're going to see NBC pop up. And these other articles are going to say, hey, anybody who's criticizing this negatively, they're bigots. They're prejudiced. They're like cave trolls, neckbeards. Ignore them. You're going to ignore Entertainment Weekly? You can't. But the best person to put them in their place is the professor. Letter 45 to his son Michael Tolkien. You have to understand the good in things to detect the real evil. But no one ever calls on me to broadcast or do a postscript. Yet I suppose I know better than most what is the truth about this Nordic nonsense. Anyway, I have in this war a burning private grudge, which would probably make me a better soldier at 49 than I was at 22, against that ruddy little ignoramus Adolf Hitler. For the odd thing about demonic inspiration and impetus is that it in no way enhances the purely intellectual stature. It chiefly affects the mere will. He stood against fascism. He stood against socialism. He stood against Adolf Hitler. But they want to label the man as a racist. And like Amazon Prime is doing this great service. The reason I said there's good news wrapped up in bile is because a company only takes this position. They only try to burn down their own product, burn down the heart of what their series is supposed to be based on when they're panicking, when they're in fear. See, they care more about their pride and the egg that's on their face because their Hollywood pals are seeing it, who always attend these red carpet premieres and the cocktail party circuit. They're worried about them instead of the actual material. That's desperation. That is fear because you are making an impact. You ever notice the difference between Amazon Prime and HBO, the way they're marketing their two series? I'm talking just the straightforward marketing, the trailers, not the whole super fans thing, and then the show's going to the UK. So Amazon Prime never actually calls its bad fan fiction series Amazon Prime's Rings of Power. No, it's always, this is Amazon Prime's Lord of the Rings of Power. Do you see HBO doing that? Where they're saying this is HBO's J.R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. Why? HBO says this is HBO's House of the Dragon because they're confident in what they have. They're sure of what they created and they know, hey, we're going to put it up. You're going to see it. You're going to love it. Go for it. They don't have to use qualifiers. But see, that's what happens when a middleman to the world decides he wants to be king of Ea, and all he is a clown. So you got a clown that becomes a king and turns his kingdom into a circus. So go out there, let everybody know the facts, lead by example, and let them hear you roar. We never bow down, we never bend the knee. Firmly defined. Step up, stand tall, and get busy living your best life now, always forward.
Saw you from afar.
It is good to see my beautiful people on the red carpet.
What do you mean, you people?
How you feeling?
I cannot believe I am here. I am here. This is our time. This is our turn. And to walk that carpet with pride, knowing that we are breaking through an incredible amount of boundaries in our industry and, of course, within this insanely huge franchise.